What has happened is that the other folks, they remain sleeping. The folks in Monroe and Sweetport and Alexandria and all these other places who are complaining now that, hey man, how all the folks getting out north, what's happening? Well, we woke up the sleeping giant on this end. And in process of waking him up, when we woke the guy up inside, what he did, he got on the phone and called home. Hey mom, I need y'all to go vote for this person. And so vicariously, they woke them up. And so the sleeping giant, it's like he's woke on this end, but technically he's still asleep because it's just one, his leg is moving, but we need to wake him completely up. And it goes with getting that person on board once he's woke. It's like the example that the way they laying out the conference. It's like, where you at? Some folks are still sitting on the side of the bed. Some folks have kind of like gotten off their bed. Some folks have started moving, and then some folks are fully engaged. And so it's kind of like that's how this giant is moving. When you wake up, what you doing? Are you still sitting on the bank? I mean, when we first started this stuff, a whole bunch of people became beneficiaries, didn't lift a finger to help. All they did was complain every day. All you politicians, that's all y'all want to do. And then when 1709 became law, they were the first ones running in front of the parole board. And it was like, bye. And I'm like, you didn't do ungrateful rich. You didn't do anything to help. And so, because they wasn't woke consciously. Now, it's like today, sitting in court, not the guys going to court, but it was like 12 formerly incarcerated people sitting in court. And guess what was the highlight of the whole thing? The CO who brought them down was just so glad to see all the rest of them out. That he come from where he was sitting just to greet all of them. And so that, and he's going back, he's gonna run back and go tell it. And so that's the kind of like the educational piece around. We just need to continually training in. This is what we need to do. This is why we need to do it. This is what we need to do. This is why we need to do it. And today was kind of like a manifestation because when 3 guys go back to prison today, and the guy's gonna be saying, "What happened? I'm going home." That's it. And they're gonna realize what happened. They're gonna be saying, "Oh man, Norris, Ronald, Anthony, Lou, all of them was in court today. Keita Black, who just got out 3 days ago, was in court." And so when they go back and just start telling that, then they're gonna realize, "Oh man, we got to get our act together in that giant show," because we had a timeline too. August 1st is right around the corner. And so I think that's the urgency around a lot of this stuff too.
Yeah, can you speak to why are we doing it now? What's the timing of
it? The urgency now is primarily because come August 1st, a lot of these laws are going to change. These folks need to understand what these laws are, how these laws will impact not just them, but people they care about that they left behind. What that heavy lift may turn into. Maybe an easy push up the hill now. Come August 1st, it's going to be a heavy lift to do a lot of things. Then we got the incoming elections in the fall. Why they need to engage and the urgency in that, even if they don't have their right to vote, the urgency of making sure everybody in their household, everybody that's connected to them, register, but not only register, they have to turn out and vote. They have to turn out and vote. You know, this is probably something different. I talked to Henry Whitehorn, the guy who just won the election for sheriff yesterday. And he said, "Man, they tell me, man, you didn't like the invitation." I said, "I love the invitation. I got the invitation." I said, "But the one on my phone, that's fine. I want the original so we can put it on the wall to mark this day in history." And then he got it. He said, "Text me address and I'm going to send it to you." And so that's the thing is the kind of like historical side of this. Hopefully July 13th is the springboard for us finally waking up this sleeping giant. He's been yawning and, you kind of like wake up in the middle of the night, you kind of like half woke, half sleep. No, we need to wake up this giant completely that folks really understand you are the power because we are the people. We're the people. I mean, this country was founded on we the people. We are those people. Sometimes we look for other people to be the heroes and the sheroes. We're the heroes and the sheroes. We are those people. Alexandria, the reason we chose Alexandria, Louisiana, is primarily because it is the central part of the state. And so we wanted to kind of like we wanted to be equitable in doing this. We didn't want people traveling longer distances than everybody else. If we'd have did it here in New Orleans, the people in Monroe and Shreveport would have been saying, man, we got to drive 5 hours to come down there, you know? Maybe next time. If we done it in Lake Charles, then we would have been saying, man, we driving 3 hours, 4 hours going to Lake Charles. So we put it in a central hub where all things considered equal, everybody has the same travel distance. You know, that round trip for everybody should be no more than 5.5, 6 hours. If you're coming from Shreveport to Alexandria, or from New Orleans to Alexandria, Lake Charles, Lafayette to Alexandria, Monroe to Alexandria, from those pockets of the state, Alexandria is central Louisiana. And so it makes it easier and convenient that, to be honest, we wanted to take away the excuse from people of that's a long way to come. Because some folks are literally driven from Shreveport to come to the soldier gatherings here in New Orleans or the ones in Baton Rouge. And so we wanted to kind of like make it a little more appealing to them by you don't have to drive this far. And we're kind of like, in some scenarios, we're providing transportation or helping people with transportation to get there. And so we're kind of like removing all of those obstacles that sometimes we put in front of ourselves that is happening on. It's not happening on a work day. It's happening on a weekend. Maybe some people have to work on Saturday, but for the vast majority of folks, we're off on the weekend. And so we're doing it at a time and a place where people can still capture their weekend, come enjoy what we have to share with them, lay out this roadmap of where we're trying to go, and kind of like see where everybody's at. See how many people is on board to kind of like helping us keep this movement going. You know, that in that moment they can become a movement builder. You know, because that's what it takes. I mean, we're there to kind of like we don't have to really the story of self, because the story of self that day is kind of like the story of us. But then, hopefully, after July 13th, it becomes the story of now. What we do with the collectivizing of all these stories, all these challenges, the toil and struggle that everybody has been through, the aspirations for not themselves, but folks that they're left behind. Well, here's the day that we can kind of like lay plain what this mission is going to look like moving forward. But to be very clear with everybody is that we can't do it by ourselves. We've kind of like have taken on this load for 28 years, and not that there's been any regret, but I think we could have come a whole lot farther, a whole lot faster, and we had a whole lot of other people on board. And so this is kind of like the opportunity for, I'm always reminded of John Kennedy, who would say, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And I think we at this crossroads now where stop asking what vote can do for you, ask what you can do for vote. He's asleep because for 1,000 years, it's been perpetuated that formerly incarcerated people, or as you know, folks call, they always use derogatory terms to identify formerly incarcerated people, ex-cons, ex-felons, and folks went into hiding. Nobody wanted to be kind of like identified, and so that's what put him to sleep. I mean, policy they put in place that prohibited formerly incarcerated people from engaging in different things. A lot of folks want to be engaged civically, but have been prohibited from doing it by policies that have been put in place. People wanted to be gainfully employed, but what they had to do, they had to check a box. They wanted to further their education, but what they had to do, they had to check a box. And so now that folks have realized that, wait a minute, we can change these things. And they kind of like see the progression over the years that how all these barriers are constantly being removed. There's still challenges, but these barriers being removed till today, people are not afraid to say that I've been incarcerated, and here's why. Because people are now not looking at the individual, people are looking at the system that created the individual. And I tell people all the time that prison for some people was a bad experience, but with good results.